back to Tell the Truth channel. Please like, share my content on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and what other content that y'all go on. I appreciate that very much. I am in Jesus and Jesus is in me. All right. My father wanted me to talk about some things that I used to go through back in the days. It's some good things now, no bad things. It's some good things that happened where I used to live when I was young. When I used to stay in the projects and all that stuff. Because, see, back in the day, it was struggling days back in them days. So everybody was struggling. Everybody was struggling. It didn't have nothing to do with just because you live in the projects, you was a ghetto. No. It ain't got nothing to do with it. Everybody struggled back in their days. Everybody struggled in them days. So you might as well say everybody was living in the ghetto. Because like that Christmas song say, come straight to the ghetto. Santa Claus comes straight to the ghetto. So Santa Claus came to everybody at home. In every place that anybody struggled at, Santa Claus came straight to the ghetto. So everybody that lived in a house, in apartment buildings, live in projects, whatever, that was struggling, that lived in the ghetto, Santa Claus came. So let me explain to y'all about this stuff. Okay, look. Back in the days when I stayed in the projects, I'm going to tell you something. There was the best days that I ever had back then. Because we struggled. Like I said, we struggled. But we had things to do when we stayed in the projects. We didn't have to step out of our neighborhood to have fun. We didn't have to. Because we had all of that in one big bunkage. One big bunkage, we have it. We can do whatever we wanted to do in the projects. We had our schools in our projects. They right in our buildings where we stayed. Right across the street was our schools. We had the dome right across the street from our schools. You know, we had the boys club, all of that. We had buildings, we had places where we can go and learn how to cook in our buildings. To stay right downstairs over our buildings, where we learn how to cook, where we learn how to be photographers, models, dancing, valet. We had a whole lot of activities that we could do in our building when we stayed at. You know, a whole lot of activities. Art, all that stuff. We had a whole lot. So we had lots of things to do. We wasn't bored where we stayed at. We didn't have to step out to have fun because we had it all in the buildings. And when we had family fights, because the things y'all got to understand that all of us, everybody that lived in the building, weren't all family. We weren't all close to everybody. It was certain people that was call themselves family, and then you call some of the people in the building was not family. You know, just you kick it with the people. But let me tell you something. The people in the building was all big families lived in the buildings, in the projects. It was all big families. Like it was people that had families that had 11 kids, had 15 kids, 12 kids. You know, it was big families that lived in the projects. It wasn't little ones. It was big. And if we had little small people that lived in the buildings, they only had like one bedroom. So it was like a one bedroom apartment that stayed on the 6th floor. On the 4th floor, there was only one bed apartment, all one bed apartments. But all the other apartments had 5 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms. It was no 3s, no 2s, but it was 1s. And it was always 5s and 4s bedrooms in the projects, you know. So let me explain to y'all how it was made back then in the buildings where I used to stay in. When you come into the building, you go up the stairs, you know. And then when you go up the stairs, there's a house right there. And then there's a house next door. And then there's another house next door. And there's another house next door. But they all in the building. And it's an outside where you can come outside and look over the porch. And you can see the whole entire neighborhood. You know, because we really didn't have to go downstairs to play in the playgrounds. We can always play on our porches, like skate and everything. We can go around the corner in our buildings to another side of building and we can go right around the corner. That means we didn't have to leave the building. We could just go right around the corner and skate around that corner, skate around the other corner, skate around the other corner. Where we wanted to go, we could do. We always had fun. We always had things to do in our buildings. Always had the things to do. We didn't never have to go off the building, go downstairs to play. Our parents can just sit on the porch and watch us play. They didn't never have to step out and come downstairs and sit downstairs. They could just sit on the porch and watch us play. Now, what I'm trying to get to y'all that when in the other buildings, like what is it? These other buildings that they had made that stay over there by the stadium, where Brandy and them came and did they little songs, the stadium over there. That's where I used to stay at too. I used to stay in the Hornets, and I used to stay on Washington. And over there on Washington and Damon, that's where the stadium is at, over that way. So that's where the people come and have the stars and come and sing and all that stuff. That's right over there. So that's why I used to tell y'all, that's where my son used to go, park cars and stuff over there at the stadium. He used to park cars and stuff over there. And that's where the movie stars used to come over there at the stadium over there. So we had the stadium right across the street from our house and all of that stuff. We didn't have to go nowhere to go to concerts and all that, because all we had to do was just go across the street at the stadium right there, But anyway, it was the Rockwells that stayed down there. Now, they buildings was made different than the buildings that I stayed in when I was young. These buildings was made different. So the Rockwells and the Hornets was different. So the Rockwells, they had hallways where the kids can come out and play in the hallways. They didn't have an outside where you could just sit on the porch and watch the kids play. You have to literally come out of their building and come downstairs and watch the kids play, or they can just look over the porch, look over the window, look over, and they have a window where they can just look over and see the children. They had to literally come out the building. We didn't have to come out our building, So, like I said, back then we had all the activities in our buildings, and they did too. So we used to go down there and kick it down in the Rockwells. We used to go down there and kick it down there, and they used to come down in the Hornets and kick it down there where we stay at. So we had Union Park. So we got Union Park over there. Yes. Right on Lake Street over there was Union Park. So we used to go over there at the park and kick it over there at the Dome in the park over there too. Okay. So everything was close, like I said, where we stayed at. Close to where we wanted to have our activities. All we had to do was just walk out the building, and there we go, right there. Okay. So, like in school, we used to have like little tally shows in school, and they would have these people to come and listen to us sing in school, and they can choose who they want to become movie stars, become singers, because they used to bring these people. They used to have these people to come to our schools and listen to us sing and dance and all of that. So I used to sing a lot in school when I was young. I sung a lot, and I got chosen to be a singer. And my mother and my father, they sat down with the people and they talked to them about me becoming a singer. But excuse me, I wanted to do it. I wanted to become a singer, but the point was that I was young. I was like 9 and stuff years old, and I didn't want to leave my parents, because if my parents couldn't come with me, I didn't want to do it. So I just turned that down. I turned it down. So we had other activities when these people would come to the Y, to the boys club and all that, and we would have like dancing, and we would dance in the Y and all that stuff. So we had a group of all of us dancing, and they used to have tally shows at the Y in the boys club and all that, and we would go to it because we was picked to be the dancers. So we would go in there and we would dance against other people from other cities and states and all that stuff. They would come to where we stay at to challenge us to challenge with us to dance. So I would get up there. I was in a dancing group. I was in a singing group, and I was in a dancing group. And what happened with the dancing group? We won that dancing. I'm telling you, we won that we won that talent show. We won it. The point is they cheated. They cheated and they gave it to somebody else. When we supposed to have won it, they gave it to somebody else. But we still got our trophy. But they picked somebody else over us, even though they know we did better than them. They picked somebody else over us. But we was cool with that. It didn't ever stop us from giving up dancing and singing, because back then my brothers and sisters and them, they had a singing group, and they went up against Michael Jackson and them. Yes, they did. And this the honest to God truth. Everything I'm telling y'all is the truth. They went up against Michael Jackson, my sisters and them. They went up against Michael Jackson and them, and they lost. Michael Jackson and them won. And, that kind of hurt my brothers and sisters and them, because they, they went up against them, but they lost, but that was okay. They got over it. But see, that's what they did back in our days. They came, excuse me, somebody trying to stop me from speaking. They came to the neighborhood to choose us to be singers and dancing back in the days, because that's what we did. We had, talent shows and stuff going on back in our days. We wasn't bored. We wasn't bored. We had a lot of things to do. We had the boys club. We had the Y. We had the Dome. We had everything in our buildings. And we can do a lot of things up in there. We had a lot of fun back in our days. We was not bored. We did not have to step out like everybody else did, because everything was in, closed protests where we can just do all the things at once. Like they had our school, they had, when you get out of school and they want you to, we had after school programs. So if we wanted to go after we get out of school and we go home and do whatever we got to do, we go to the after school programs, and play in school. If we didn't want to go to the after school programs, we'll go to the Y, we'll go to the Dome, we'll go to the park, we'll go to the boys club, whatever we wanted to go, we can just go. Because our parents already knew where we was at, because we was all close to everything around the neighborhood. So we can always go, And most of the talent shows they had was at the boys club, at Union Park. That was mostly all the talent shows they had it at the boys club, at Union Park, and all that stuff. So we used to always have stuff to do like that. We always had things to do. We was never bored. And what I'm trying to get to about that, about the societies. Now, I don't know if my family was in these societies back then, but I know for a fact that when we used to have a fight with people in the building, it would be so many people coming from other buildings to help our family jump one family in the building. I'm looking like, why do they need all these people to just jump on one family when it's all of us? It's 11 of us in my family. It was 11 of us. So why we need all of them when we can just handle it on our own? I don't even think my brothers and sisters, my mother and them even knew that these people was coming to jump in. Even though they knowed everybody, they didn't know that they was going to end up, showing up, but they did. They popped up. And, once they heard that we was out there fighting, everybody showed up. So I was trying to figure that out. Like, why every time we get ready to fight, the whole entire neighborhood pops up, So I'm looking at like, it made me kind of feel kind of, big. Because I'm looking at why every time you turn around, all these people show up. I never knew why. And now I understand, because my family was in a society that I didn't even know nothing about. Because they kept me closed-minded up from everything that I didn't even know what was going on. I'm just in the dark wondering why all this going on. Why every time my family get ready to show up, a whole million people come popping up. And I'm like, wow, But I was flattered. But I don't know what, I was just flattered because I was young and seeing all these people showing up, which we didn't need them because we can handle it by ourselves. We didn't need the people. We can handle it all by ourselves. But yeah, they showed up when any time, even when we moved out the projects and moved somewhere else and we got into it, they would hear about it, and then here come all the people coming in their cars, coming where we at. Yeah. I was shocked. Like, what the heck is going on here? So back in our days, like I said, that's how I didn't know my family was in the society until I just got in this house and found out all of this. And I was wondering why all of this was going on and all of that stuff. Because I was on my, I be watching, listening to my daddy workers talk on YouTube. I listen to them. And one of them brought up this scar that I have on my forehead. I have a scar across my eye and my by my eye, it's by my eyebrow and almost by my eye. I got the scar. And they wanted to know how did I get the scar on by my eye. And I had forgot all about how I got the scar. But when they brought it up, because I have never paid attention to the scar, you know, and as I got, in here, and they started bringing it up, the reason how I got this scar is I was dating this dude when I was 11 years old. I was dating this dude, but I wasn't really dating, because you know how you young, you have a crush. And you know how the parents is, they don't want you dating nobody. You know how our parents is, but we're going to do what we're going to do, even though we're young, because you know how we is. We hard-headed, and we're going to do what we're going to do. So I was dating this dude, and the crazy part about it, I didn't know this boy was a drinker, because this boy was drinking at 11 and 12 years old. This boy was drinking, and I didn't know that. And one day I was up to his house, and I was kicking it with him and his sisters. So I was in the room with him, and we was playing, talking and stuff. And all of a sudden, this boy tried to rape me. He tried to rape me. And I was hollering and all of that. And his sister heard me screaming, telling him to let me go. Leave me alone. Let me go. Let me go. Let me go. Because at 11 years old, you ain't thinking about having no sex. Well, know nothing about that stuff. You just, being a kid. I'm just being a kid. So when he tried to take it from me, and I ran out of his house, and then I ran down to my floor, because he stayed a floor up over me, and I ran out of his house and ran down to the floor, and I told my mother. And when I told my mother, my whole family went up there. Boy, I mean, God, it was some things going on up there. It was some things going on up there, and I ran. I couldn't take it, so I ran and left them. I was 11 years old, okay? I didn't want to see all that. So I ran downstairs and went in the house, and I was scared, and I was crying and all that stuff. I was scared because my family, they up there fighting and all that, and I just ran and left them. And my mom and them, they handled it. The next day, everything calmed down. So I went outside. I'm going outside to play, and I see the boy. I see him again. So he walked towards me, and he had a glass in his hand, but he had his hand behind his back. And I was wondering why he had his hand behind his back. So he came up to me, and he took the glass, and he crossed it across my forehead, across my eye. And he told me, you ain't gonna never forget me. You ain't gonna never ever forget who I am. You gonna always remember who I am. This scar that you got on your face, you're going to always remember who I am. I'm like, what the heck? I'm crying because I've got blood just running down my face, crying and stuff. So I ran home, showed my mama, they seen all the blood. I had to go to the hospital. When my mama came back, they went back up there and they started fighting the family again. They started fighting them again. These people knew they couldn't stay long. They knew they had to move. Because if they wouldn't have moved, my family would have constantly kept fighting these people. So they had to literally move out the projects. They moved out. And I literally forgot all about the scar until I heard one of the psychics brought it up. About the scar on my face. Because you barely could see it. You barely could see the scar unless you close up on me all the way. And then you could see that scar. And I was so surprised when she brought it up. Because when I be washing my face and all that stuff, and I look in the mirror, I don't pay attention to that scar. I don't even see it because you can barely see it. But only time you can see it is unless you all the way up on me. So somebody that saw me had to be all the way up on me to see that scar for them to bring that up, And I was like, wow, it was, back a long time ago. So yeah, that's why I'm bringing that up, because they brought that up to me, and I was wondering, like, why would they bring that scar up? And I guess that just shows that people pay a whole lot of attention to you on your body. You'd be surprised. They pay attention to everything. So I'm going to say like this, mans, pay attention to everything about a woman. They pay attention to every drop of everything on your body. They pay attention to. Because I'm telling you, I forgot all about that scar. I wasn't even thinking about it. So this is what I'm trying to say to y'all. Just because you live in the projects and all that stuff, don't mean that you can't become famous living in there. Because a lot of people that lived in the projects, and I'm going to tell y'all something. These people right now, the singers, done came from the projects. And I know half of these people that be singing, that do sitcoms and all that, then came from the projects, and I know them and they know me. Because we all growed up together. So I know a lot of these people that's rich. I know some of these people because they all went to school with me, and they all, growed up in the neighborhood and growed up in other neighborhoods, and we all kicked it together. So I know most of these people that be, on YouTube. I know most of these people that they all came from the projects. Like Jennifer Hustler, she came from the projects. She lived in the projects too, Jennifer Hustler. And the other dude, I forgot his name, but he came from the projects too. So a lot of singers have came from the projects. Like Bernie Mac, he came from the projects. He lived in the projects too. I mean, Bernie Mac used to go against each other, doing the dozen. Me and Bernie Mac used to do the dozen together back in the days. Yeah. Sure did. So I know half of these singers. I know half of them. And these movie stars, I know half of them because I grew up with them. So I know half of them. So yeah, like Don Juan. I know Don Juan. Don Juan knew my family. He knew my whole entire family. So I know Don Juan. Cause it's a thing happened with Don Juan with my brother. My brother stole my father's car and went joyriding it and hit Don Juan's girlfriend's car by mistake. And lucky if it weren't for my father talking to Don Juan, my brother would have been locked up in jail. But Don Juan, let it go. He let it go because he got to know my father. So, So it's a lot of people I grew up with, and I know, and I came from the projects, and I know a lot of people. Y'all be surprised. Just because we lived in the projects don't mean that we didn't know people. It was a lot of people that came from the projects themselves, and they are rich, and they came from the projects, and I know some of these people from the projects. So, yeah, this is what y'all got to understand. That's where people start from. They start from the ghetto, and then they come up rich. That's how they start out. They start from the ghetto and they come up rich. That's how that goes. So yeah, I know a lot of people, okay? So that's what I'm just want to tell y'all. Y'all can't always think just because somebody done lived in the projects and all that they can't be nothing. That's how people become. How they is. Like Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey had her show in Chicago. Okay? That's right. Oprah Winfrey had her show in Chicago. So, we all know people. I know a lot of people. So that's what I'm trying to tell y'all. Just because I lived in the projects don't mean that I don't know a lot of rich people, because I do. I do know them. And they know me. So, that's what I want to talk to y'all about. So y'all can't sit here and judge the book by its cover until you open that book and read that book and say, oh my God, these people, she knows some people. Yeah, she came from this place. Yeah, I know some people because I've been there, done that. I know these people. I growed up with them. So I know them. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Don't ever judge the book by its cover, because a lot of these people came from the Jets. They came from the Jets, and they made something out themselves from coming from the Jets. Because you got to understand this: a lot of people don't want to always be down. So when they don't want to be down, they come up. They work hard to get where they want to get. So even if you come from the projects, as I call the Jets, when you come from the Jets, you want to make something out yourself. Because when you have struggle, you build yourself up and you make something out of yourself. And a lot of these people, like I said, that's rich came from the Jets. And it ain't always got to be in Chicago. They can be in New York. All other places that have the Jets then came from the Jets. From New York, from Texas, they got Jets. Everybody got Jets wherever they stay. And they have came up. That's what y'all got to understand. It's Jets all over the world. It's Jets all over the world. So this is what I want to talk to y'all about. Thank y'all for listening to me. Jesus love you. Father love you. The Holy Ghost, the angels, the ancestors, and I love y'all. And I will be back to talk to y'all again soon. Y'all have a good day and a blessed day.